very much from that broad perspective, sort of overview and the history of the program, to Marta talking about what we, as a school district and how we can support community members. I really I liked hearing from you what you sort of said about the practicality, sort of what happened to you and how you went about it as a teacher, educator, and assistant principal. So welcome, and over to you.
Hi, thank you. I just had a panic because my computer just shut off during Marta's talk, but we got reconnected, so that's good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, so the day after the election in 2016, when I went to school, I expected to face upset students, and I did. I had, I teach ELL, and I had a class of pull-out social studies, so it's separate from everybody else. And I had several students who were very upset and worried about what was going to happen next. I especially had one student who was not a very emotional student, in tears. And so, I knew that something had to be done right away on the school level and even in the classroom. So the two things that happened right away for me were, one, I prepared curriculum so that I could help my students process what was going on. And then my principal right away offered to visit my class, and which she did. So there's a link in the PowerPoint to, if people want to see that, to the election results debrief. And so that was the first thing that I did with students, just to kind of process what happened in terms of the election and what was going to happen next. And we followed that with letters to the president, which they decided they didn't want to send. And since they were still really beginner English learners, it was hard for them to have the words really to express what they wanted to say. But I think it was a good outlet for them. It was a good exercise, and made them feel a little bit like they had a voice. So I also included the template for the letter to the president, which I saw the teacher in the video also did. And then my principal visited my class, I think it was the same day after the election. And she spent about 10 minutes in the classroom with me, just reassuring students that they were safe in our building and in our district, and that she wouldn't let anything happen to them. And I think that helped. I also did some parent outreach. So I'm on a texting or phone call basis with a lot of parents, and especially this one particular student who was in tears. I called her mom and had a long conversation with her, and just reassured her that really she was in one of the safest communities she could be in. I mean, obviously we can't protect everybody, but I wanted them to feel a little bit more comfortable and less distressed. So I did that with a couple of parents of my students. Can you go to the next slide?
So to segue into the next slide.
I go to the next slide?
Yeah, we're going to go to
you go to the next slide. Okay.
Share some information about your current projects, and those links we will share with everybody after the session. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So the Immigration Stories unit, so I teach social studies and English to English language learners, and this was a project I launched with them last year, post-election also, and also post hearing about one of my students' really powerful immigration stories that he shared with me. So, we have a very international population in Amherst, so we have, large numbers of students from several different countries, especially a country in Central America. And so this one student shared his story about trying to travel to the US 3 separate times to join with his family, his parents who were here in Amherst. And then finally on the 4th time, he got over the border and spent some time in an ICE detention center. Eventually was reunited with his parents, but was separated from his grandmother who had raised him since a very, very young age. So, hearing his story, the first time I heard it, I was in tears myself. And I thought it was just so powerful and would be great for other people to hear also. So and post-election was like the perfect time to do this last year. So I had all my students write their own immigration stories, and right away I got some pushback from some of them who insisted that they were not immigrants. So we had to, have a whole discussion about what an immigrant is, who's an immigrant, about how everybody in the US really has an immigrant background unless they are a Native American. So we did that. We wrote their whole story out. They made mini books of their stories with collage art. And once that was done, I wanted to do something more with that. So my principal, Patty Bodie, suggested that we write a grant. So we wrote a grant for AEF, which is the Amherst Education Foundation, and we received the grant. And so right now we're working on that. We're designing a photo text exhibit in the fashion of the Family Diversity Projects, and they're helping us with this. They're helping us with the logistics and the interviewing and all of that. So really from a small curriculum project, it's grown into a school-wide project where we have the exhibit scheduled for May at our school, and there's an inquiry group at our school working on this with some social studies teachers and other teachers. So this is one way for us that, we can't ask students their immigration status, obviously, but this is one way I feel that they can be a little bit more visible in our community.
Great, thank you so much. And if you would send us those dates for May, I would love to support you at that kind of.
Sure.
So now your next slide, where what I really like the way we've gone very broadly tonight, sort of right down to the pragmatics. What can I do the minute I sort of switch off this evening? And if you could just walk us through some of the very basic things that we could do as educators, as community members, as fellow human beings.
Sure. So what can you do? And I know a lot of teachers feel helpless and feel like I want to do something, but I'm not sure what. So I think, some immediate steps are, first, educate yourself, find out about DACA. Like Eduardo was explaining to us very helpfully. I think lots of teachers don't really understand what it really is. So find out about that, about documented versus undocumented, about what your district policy is about that. Our district has taken a very firm, policy in support of immigrants. So find out, what is your district doing? Don't assume students are documented or undocumented. And then really don't be afraid to talk about the issues. I think a lot of teachers are afraid they don't want to get into trouble, or they don't want to offend a student or anyone else, which I understand. But, there are ways to stay kind of neutral, but still support your students and make sure that they have a voice and still talk about the issues with them. So that's what I try to do, right? And we all know teaching is a political act. And then there are always some go-to websites, which I use all the time for everything. Whenever I'm in doubt, I go to Teaching Tolerance, Anti-Defamation League, Read, Write, Think, and Rethinking Schools. And they have lots of curriculum and resources to help you out. But also, check out your local resources. See who, are there other people in your school who can help you out? Is there someone like Dr. Guevara in your district who can, hook you up with more information in terms of our families and that kind of thing?